everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about our science curriculums. So the first few years that we homeschooled, we used just a box curriculum that kind of had everything all included. Don't get me wrong, I really was a big fan of that for the very, very beginning, especially because I had never homeschooled before. It was a great resource for me to kind of pull from. Once we got through first grade with that, I realized that I didn't love it. It did not check all of the boxes that I needed it to check. And so I, at that point, decided that the best thing for our family was for me to start to put together a curriculum based off of just what was best for us. So I did a lot of research, I went through a lot of books, and I ended up on simplycharlottemason.com. And I ended up with the 106 Days of Creation Studies book. I ordered the PDF, so we still have it fully available to us. If you have never written or created your own curriculum for anything, I highly suggest starting with 106 Days of Creation Studies because it does a really good job of touching on just so many different subjects. So the way that this curriculum is set up is it is set up in 6 different kind of categories, and it is based off of each day of creation. So the first day you're going to learn about things like light and shadow and color and refraction, and it is broken down into what you can do for older kids versus what you can do for younger kids. There are experiments in there, nature study in there. I am a big fan of the 106 Days of Creation Studies. So we went through that curriculum for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I think, and we really, really liked it, but I felt like that it was time for us to kind of level up. So all of that being said, once we got through the 106 Days of Creation study for the second or third time, I don't remember, we were ready to jump into something a little bit different. And I just discovered that going and looking for science curriculum was a really, really difficult task for me. I wanted to find something that was biblically based and actual scientific fact. And I just figured out that the easiest thing that I could do is just write it myself. So that's what I did. So the first time that I ever did a curriculum on my own, we were going to a trip to the beach, and I knew that we were going to go to an aquarium, and so I thought it would be really fun for us to do an oceanography study. So I split up each week into the different layers of the ocean, and each week we talked about what happened in each layer, what lived in each layer, the kind of environment that was, why that was important for the actual ocean, all of those things. And my kids walked away from that understanding when we went out and looked at the ocean what all was in it. When we went to the aquarium and we saw all of the different setups, they understood why some had to be darker than others, and it was just really, really interesting. And once I saw the beauty in that and saw how much my kids actually learned, I knew I just could not turn back and go back to any kind of a box curriculum or something that I was just reading and they were filling out worksheets for. So the way that I do this, so this time we're actually working on biology, specifically the human body. So I am going to show you exactly how I set that up. So the first thing that I did was I figured out what I wanted my kids to actually learn about. So again, I thought this time the human body and learning how it works was a really good thing for us to learn about. So I spent time learning about that. I don't have a background in medicine. I'm not a nurse, nothing like that. So I didn't have a great understanding of it when we started. So the first thing I had to do was I had to learn a little bit about it. So I am learning a little bit more each week with them, but I did have to have a basic understanding of it. A little bit better than I learned in school when I was younger. I did have to have a pretty good understanding of it myself. So I spent a week or two really researching it and spending time learning about it so that when I went to write curriculum, if the kids had questions, I would be able to answer those a little bit better. The next thing that I did was I knew that I wanted 10 weeks worth of curriculum. So thankfully, the human body is already broken up into systems. So I was able to just break up the weeks into each individual system that I wanted my kids to learn about. So we have human cells, the dermal system, the joints, skeletal system, tendons and ligaments, digestive system, circulatory system, urinary system. All of those are an individual week. The next thing that I wanted to do, that I have found a long time ago, is that when you are writing a curriculum, repetition is your friend. So every single week, my kids, though we are studying a different system, the setup is going to be the same. So at the end of every week, I want my kids to be able to walk away answering 3 questions about that system. And the questions are the same every single week. So the way that I set up the worksheets is I have at the top, I have very clearly what system we're working on. Then I have an example of that, whether that's like the skeletal system or the parts of the cell that are actually like marked and shown what they are, or if it's just a picture of something, something to exemplify what it is that we are learning. And then at the bottom of the page, I have the 3 questions that are the same every single week. So the first question is, what is that system? The second question is, how does it work? And the third question is, what does it need? So at the end of every week, my kids can walk away and know what that system specifically is, where it is in our bodies, how it works, so they understand what the purpose of that system is, what makes that work in our body. And then the third one is, what does it need? And I really like that one because we get to focus a lot on nutrition. And so every week we talk about things that specific system in our body needs from our diet or from exercise or from our environment to work optimally. So at the end of every week, they are able to walk away answering those very simple questions about it. So at the end of this semester, are my kids going to be ready for medical school? Probably not, no. But they are going to have a really good in-depth understanding of what their body is made up of. And really, I think that that's a lot better than what they would get from a full book where they're learning a ton of information just all at one time. So I want, when I write any kind of a curriculum for my kids, specifically for science or for history, I really want them, or geography, I guess, I really want them to be able to just have the really key points, really good jumping off points if they do later on want to study more about that. So for example, if my kids did want to go into medicine of any kind, they would be able to know, hey, I really enjoyed learning about the skeletal system. I thought that was really important. So I want to spend some more time understanding that. I know this stuff about it. And so I want to spend more time researching that. And that has happened. So every week I like to have some sort of an art project or a experiment that is going to go along with it. So for example, the first week we did cells and what are cells made up of and what are the different parts of the cell. And we made little cakes for each of the kids, and then I had tons of different candies and things that they decorated the cake with to create the different parts of the cell. One of the things that I am really careful to do, so each of my kids has this same worksheet in their notebooks, but each of my kids do address it a little bit differently. So a younger kid would just answer these questions very simply be able to label whatever it is that we're doing. But an older kid is going to spend more time answering these questions more fully. They are going to research it a little bit more, maybe write a full essay to show me that they have a really good understanding of what it is that we are doing. So every kid is going to do this a little bit differently, but they are all going to study the same thing. So that is how I'm able to do science with all of my kids, even though I have kids that range everywhere from 4th grade that are doing this, that range from 4th grade all the way up to high school. So they are learning the same information, but they're kind of doing it on their own grade level. So along with this, I did want to make sure that we have some books in our home that can coincide with what we're learning. So I've got this one. This is an Usborne book on the human body, and it talks about the different systems, and it gives really specific information on it. This one was a really good one for us to pick up. It has tons of pictures, that sort of thing. It labels things really well. This one's a fun one for the kids to look through. So I wanted to make sure that we had something like this in our home. And then this one I got from Sam's Club. It was years and years ago that I got this one, so I doubt that they have it there anymore. But I have seen books like this in bookstores, so I know that they still exist. But it has, in the middle here, it has like a 3D model of each of the different systems, and when you turn the page, it takes that part of the system away so the kids can kind of look at it individually. So this one was a really good one. On top of that, we have library cards, so we can spend time in the library looking at stuff. YouTube is an excellent source of information. Tons and tons of videos specifically made for kids, which is really nice, on each of the different things that we're learning. So that has been true for us, for botany, oceanography, biology, all of the different things, zoology, all of the things that we have studied. I have found a lot of really good information on YouTube, fun videos for the kids to watch, and they really enjoy that. And then the last one that I like to look up information on is Pinterest. It's really simple to just go on there and search skeletal system experiment, and lots of stuff is going to pop up, and it will give you tons and tons and tons of good ideas. So I would say, specifically for science, I think that writing a curriculum yourself is a really good option, especially if you aren't finding something that is working for your kids or yourself, or if you're finding stuff that you just have a hard time teaching. So I do it now for science, geography, and history, and it has played out really well for our family. So I hope that that's helpful for you guys. If you're interested in the actual worksheets that I had, I can see if I can figure out a way for you guys to be able to download them if you are interested in doing them with your family. If you guys have any more questions about how I write our own curriculum, feel free to leave a question down in the comment below, and I will definitely be down there answering them for you guys. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.